As you probably already know, there is an ongoing war in Vietnam. What is the Vietnam War, you ask? Why are we there? What started it? Let us explain. Many years ago, France colonized Vietnam, and when they left, the country was divided and developed into a communist north and an anti-communist south.
South Vietnam is already under attack, sometimes by a single assassin, sometimes by a band of guerrillas.
Knowing the U.S. government, they leaped at the first chance they could to support anti-communists in South Vietnam when conflict started to arise. So when you really look at it, the U.S.'s interests for joining the war do not reflect those of their citizens, and they are willing to throw thousands of American lives away to defend those interests.
If we consider the U.S. citizens as one stakeholder and the government as another, their interests differ. By being engaged in the Cold War, all the U.S. cares about is destroying communism no matter what it takes. America's people don't care about the Cold War. All it is doing is putting our world in a state of violence. As U.S. citizens, we want to preserve our lifestyle and not be conscripted and sent to a war we don't believe in.
Let's take a look at Vietnam. After all, it is the country we are fighting. North Vietnam is more powerful than the South, and without U.S. involvement, the war would have been over. The North strongly supports communism and wishes to unite all of Vietnam under a communist government. The South wants the opposite. They want to stay the way they are, as non-communists and an independent nation in the South. So if you look at it, these conflicts of interest could only have resulted in a war, right?
Wrong, 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 wrong.
There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
So, could have this problem been fixed? This war averted? Or can it still be stopped? Well, let's look at it from an international point of view. North Vietnam is greatly influenced by the Soviet Union and China, the great communist powers. So if meetings could be held, the issues seriously discussed, perhaps the influence from the communist side of things could be great enough to stop the war and discuss a different approach.
Exactly. And the same could be said for the South Vietnamese, considering how much the U.S. influences them. But what about the nationalist approach? Nationalist ways have gotten us nowhere so far in this problem. Everyone is only doing what's best for themselves. Well, perhaps we look at North and South Vietnam differently, not as two nations, but as one. After all, they are both Vietnamese at the end of the day, even if their political views differ. The answer is simply democracy. The people of both sides should vote for one leader, be him communist or not, or perhaps a mix of the both.
Well, wait a minute, no one is just going to stop fighting at this point. So I guess that's why we need the powerful countries to delay the war and consider taking a fair election after a few months of campaigning. What's going on here is unfair after all. Powerful countries are using Vietnam as its battleground to fight their war between political ideologies. Let the choice be that of the Vietnamese people, and maybe the outcome will be a peaceful, functioning nation. So by using nationalist and internationalist approaches, we can find an agreeable outcome.
Exactly. And that's all the time we have, folks. Thanks for listening.